Let's have a conversation on this. Senior Fellow, Potomac Foundation, Dennis Gurak joins me from Washington, D.C. He joins me via Zoom. Good to have you join us, Dennis.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with this is a rather disturbing situation in Ukraine, and one of the things we're seeing beyond the human casualty that we've seen so far, it is also becoming a humanitarian crisis. People are fleeing the country and moving to other countries. You live in Washington, D.C. Can you give us an idea of how humanitarian aid is being organized from and by the West?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right that people are fleeing the country. Just yesterday, I saw this piece on Nigerian students trying to leave the country, and they couldn't. So there is now in DC, in America, there's this Black Lives Matter movement. It is already starting to spread out because they saw it as a it's hinged on their interest, but it actually is not. It's just the war situation demands. It's not the same life in Kyiv right now as basically everywhere else in the world. And in Washington D.C., fortunately, it started to be felt basically by everyone in the U.S. government and all the institutions, the NGOs. The humanitarian aid sector. So in a very short period of time, U.S. was able to organize, and U.S. Ukrainians for the most part, actually were able to organize a lot of physical, like practical help. So planes were booked, planes will be flying each day now. The goods, the food, the warm clothes, whatever, medical supplies, will be coming to Ukraine now on a daily basis. And that was thanks to a prompt movement of the Ukrainian embassy in DC and the whole Ukrainian diaspora. We have 1 million Ukrainians approximately that live in US, more than 1 million that live in Canada. And like me personally, I feel first, I felt ashamed that I'm not there and that I cannot help to do and cannot help, physically there. But we're trying to do what we can here because we understand that if we don't do it, then more children will die. More, then it's just going to happen. The humanitarian crisis is going to happen. And the last thing is that, if the humanitarian crisis is going to happen, it affects the whole world, actually. Ukraine is a top supplier in most of the food categories, like grains, sunflower seed oil, eggs, chicken, etc., to the whole world, including to Africa. So this is something that the world should be concerned about for the most part. Some parts of the world can help out militarily, but other parts of the world should help in every way that they can to prevent humanitarian crisis. The world will not be able to hold.
I was just going to ask you about that because I wanted to ask you how you feel about the role that the international community has played so far, or if you think that Ukraine has been left alone in this war.
Firstly, there was this feeling, frankly speaking. So most of the Ukrainians felt like betrayed by everyone because for a few months, all the world top officials were basically sending the message, you're doomed. You will lose the war. We will not defend you because you're not the one of us. And especially it was felt towards the West, of course. Because, everything what happened in Ukrainian history was basically the idea of freedom. And if those people who are saying that they're for freedom and for principles of freedom and are actually not defending them, then I think you can imagine that kind of feeling, how it resembles with the country that wanted to be free and was actually free and then was captured by Russia in 17th century and basically became a colony. And when it broke free, now a madman wants to do a genocide. So that's kind of a feeling that that Ukrainians are getting.
Let's talk about Africa and how you feel about the role that Africa has played so far, because we're talking about the international community. We had a speech from Kenya's UN ambassador, I think Martin Kimani. He gave a really beautiful speech. That was when Russia first recognized Luhansk and Donetsk as independent regions, and that was a beautiful speech. We just a few hours ago, there was a statement from Nigeria's presidency that saying that Nigeria would impose sanctions if UN was to if those sanctions, if UN was to say, look, countries should impose sanctions. But just generally, most African countries have been on the sidelines and on the fence on this issue. How do you view the role that Africa has played so far and the statements or lack of it coming from Africa?
Yeah, thank you. I watched that General Security Council meeting of the UN, and a few other African countries also said that they strongly condemn and they support sanctions, which is like, maybe I'm biased here, but for Ukrainians it was totally obvious, and of course we appreciate the support on the diplomatic front, and hopefully African countries will also impose sanctions, because now it's it's the moment where basically we're in the point in human history where you're either you're choosing sides because it's war. So it's just simple. You're either good or bad. And I don't know, I think we've started seeing that everyone in the world suddenly realized that miraculously, quite frankly, but Africa cannot stay alone, cannot stay on the sidelines in this, because it's just so obvious that, I mean, just on the historical level, there are so many similarities in what's happening in Ukraine, what happened to Africa. And I mean, if there is any justice in this world, and which can be done, it is right now.
Absolutely, it is right now, or any other time might be too late. Thank you so much, Dennis. Best wishes are with you and everyone in Ukraine. The world is praying for Ukraine at this moment. Thank you so much for talking to us. We've been speaking with Senior Fellow, Potomac Foundation, Dennis Gurak.